Hello everyone, my name is Avkash, and in this video I am bringing you the test drive with DataRobot AI Platform. DataRobot AI Platform is a combination of three different services built into. The first one is the data preparation, where you are using the DataRobot AI Platform to prepare your data so that it can be ready for machine learning. In the second step, you are going to use the DataRobot AI platform to perform AutoML, Visual AI, and various other steps so that you can build machine learning models of your need. And in the third and the last step of DataRobot AI platform is related with MLOps. And in this step, you are going to productionalize your machine learning models created by DataRobot AI platform in machine learning sections. So this tutorial is related with data preparation service available in DataRobot AI platform. In this tutorial, we are going to cover varieties of functionalities available in DataRobot AI platform. We are going to start with data import from variety of sources, and then using the imported data, we are going to create the projects. So data preparation steps has this project method where you create a new project, and within the project you select a particular data set as your base data set, and then you use this data set to perform various EDAs or exploratory data analysis, and you enhance your data set depending on your business and domain need. Those needs could be outlier detection, data cleaning, column transformation, data lookup, where you would want to do the join, variety of join, whether you want to use the exact match or you want to do the fuzzy match. All that things are available. Creating new columns using computational parts such as aggregation, where you could create the numerical and binary columns, data aggregation at several levels. When you are trying to use the group by methods, you can apply these shift capabilities available in DataRobot, as well as the ranking capabilities. DataRobot data preparation also supports shape. It means you can pivot, depivot, and transpose your source data set depending on your need. And while you are performing all these data preparation, data transformation, all these steps, everything is recorded. Every step is recorded. So the data lineage is being created as you progress. Annotation and versioning is another big part of DataRobot data preparation platform, where you can explain what you are doing in each step, so your teammate and your colleagues, they can learn more about your process behind all these steps. And one big thing with these versioning and annotation and the data lineage steps is that you can access any particular step. You can backtrack all these changes, and if you would want to go to a particular step and extract the data from that step, you also have those capabilities. So overall, DataRobot AI platform is a wonderful product for data preparation. So let's get started. So I am already logged into DataRobot AI platform. I am using the trial version, and as you can see here, we have data preparation section, and we have whole AutoML machine learning development, no code base, and third one is the MLOps here. So in this tutorial, we are going to learn how DataRobot AI platforms perform the data preparation. So when you select data preparation, you are going to see this menu available for data preparation. So here we could create a new project, and we could open existing project, and there is some help available too. So we are going to create a new project. As you are seeing here is that DataRobot uses Paxeta as their service to perform the data preparation steps. Some of these helpful content available, which you can also try. We are going to create a new project. So before we create a new project, here you can see that there are three different options available: projects, library, and project flows. So let's take a look into what is library. So library is the collection of all the data sets you have imported into DataRobot AI Platform. These data sets can be included into the DataRobot AI Platform through various data sources. Here we have the data sources. As you could see here, we can say add a new data source, and depending on the number of data sources available for your DataRobot AI account, you can use them. I'm using a trial account, so I do have some limited restricted version of platform already with me. So here in library, these are the data sets I have. It's really very rich information available. It shows that when I have used this data set very last time and how many versions of my data set are there. As you could see here, there are 3 versions of this particular data set and how I really worked on that data set. So you could also get the idea about what kind of work we have done. You could view this data set, you could create a new projects from that, and if you wanted to download that data set from DataRobot AI Cloud to your local machine, you could export it. This is a very rich information with regard to the data set you have imported in your DataRobot AI Cloud. So library is a very important part for you to spend your time. Here you could see that if you have so many versions of data sets available, or you would want to clean up all that thing, you have ability to do it here. We can go back to and as you could see here, this library view is currently selected for a particular data set, all 3 versions. You can go back to all of your data sets like here. Here I do have a data set which is related with supermarket sales. It's taken from Kaggle, so I have that here, and I do have another fabricated data set related with this, which we will be looking little later. So this is the data set which we are going to use for our exploratory data analysis using DataRobot AI Cloud. Here is our DataRobot home, and we are looking into the data preparation part of the DataRobot within the DataRobot AI Cloud. So after we have looked into the library part of DataRobot AI Cloud, now we have option to select a data set which I would want to work or we want to work, and we can create the project directly from it. So this is our source data set, which just has only one version because I use this data set as a base version, and this data set we will be using to create our project. So our project will be EDA and project is created. Once this project is open, the project option became the top in our hierarchy. We still have connection to previous library or project section if we would want to go there. This is our project name, and here at the very top, some of the top level options available for us. The next, here are the tools, and if you select any of these options, the sub menus or sub actions related with these tools are going to be visible here. So like this is blue, it means I have steps open here. If I don't want to see steps, I can close it and steps will be not be visible. So this is how you are going to play with your tools related with your data analysis or data transformation project here. Here is the immediate view of the data set which was used to create this project. In our case, we have used the supermarket data set here. Here you could see the sources. At sources column is the very first column which is added by the DataRobot project, and it shows that all the data what you have belongs to one single source. If you are adding more tables to this data set and you are joining, then more and more sources will be available. So it's just very good information to see that how many variety of sources are used to give you the current visible or the selected data set. Here we have lots of information related with our data set. Some of the columns are there. As you could see that this shows that these are the string columns or the character columns, the numeric columns. They look like the numeric columns. Date columns, if there is date, even this is a date column, but it is still a string column. And as we can keep scrolling left and right, and depending on number of columns you have, you will be able to just take a look into your data set. After steps, here are various versions available, and we are going to versions related with your data sets are available. And as we progress in this tutorial, we are going to look majority of these tools and the associated options with them. So very first thing we are going to look into in our exploratory data analysis, as you see here, that as soon as I come to a column, I can use this option, and here you could see that this is the filter. You can sort very quickly. If I want to sort these values, I could say this is a ascending order. So sort, if you would want to sort on numeric value, you could select here, and here your sorting will be done numeric. So that option you have. Then you have some of the functionality related with the column, and here you could see that you have ability to transform the column directly by selecting what option you would want to do it. So very first thing is started with your columns. You can see the value and you can filter and you can understand your data set more much better, and that is done through filtergrams. So what filtergrams are is that you could select a particular column, and then depending on your selected column, your data will start transforming depending on what you have selected. So let's use here, I have select city. You can click on this type, data type here, and as soon as you are going to click, as you see here that we have selected city as our filter, and then all the values related with city are visible here, and it's all depending on what type of column you have selected. If I select this numerical column, which is unit price, and as I select here, you would see here that this graph is created. So filtergram automatically adjust itself depending on the value type. If you look into here total or date, again we are coming here, but you could see here that if we want to look into the payments cash, let's select this one, and there you go. So you will select filters, and very quickly if you would want to see that you are only interested in the payment type which are cash, and you can say okay, just filter all those values depending on cash, and depending on your payment type all the cash values are only visible, and that's what you are really seeing here. If you move this, as you see here, even these values are updated depending on that. So if you are interested in cash, these are the cash related unit price, and here is the city. So out of 1000 record, the cash is distributed in 3 cities like that way. If you would want to see the cash value only in city Mandalay, you select this, and now your filters are at a 2 level and everything is selected based on that. So this exploratory analysis through Filtergram is very powerful tool to understand your data. It shows relationship among your data. It also shows the distribution of your data, so you could see how the data is really distributed very quickly. Within this distribution, you can actually zoom this, and then if you have a very large wide data, then you could select what particular zoom area you are more interested to. Zoom out and you are back to there. If you are not interested in certain filter, you can close this and you are back to where you started. If you see that steps window is available here, if you do not want to see these steps, it's better to close it because that gives you more real estate to experience your data. Now, as you see here that we have this product line, and if you look into your products and or any of your cell value, and if you double click the cell value, very quickly you are going to see a little more transformed view of your data set. So we have selected health and beauty, and as you could see here that all the values related with health and beauties are highlighted in your selected column. And if you would want to perform the find and replace or something like that, you could perform here. As you could see, here is the value. If you would want to change this, you have ability to say, oh, not this one, I'm interested in quantity, and now you see the quantity is available. If you would want to select two of them, so you say quantity and the total, and now you have that. So this is another way for you to first find, and you could replace depending on a selected criteria. So that is also part of your exploratory data analysis. One more thing, if you are doing some experimentation, feel free to save it. And when you are going to save that experimentation, basically it's create and state in your steps here. So you see here that we are, if we want to do this work and we want to save it, I will go ahead and I will save it here. And when the steps option is open, if steps option is not open, then the save option will be available at your top bar. So depending on wherever you are. So if I try to save it, what it's going to do is that it is just saving that step, and that step is available here. Next, if I try to do another find and replace, for example, I'm trying to use this value and I'm just trying to perform this and I'm doing nothing here. I look into and I save that step to. Now you will see that we have performed these two different exploratory steps. They did not change anything in our data. However, the activity is stored. If I want to annotate this thing just to say why I was doing it, I can say here, I can also write here and I can say this one is. So these are the annotation, which if you would want to share this workspace with your colleague, they can see what I was doing, what was my intention while I was in certain step. If I want to clean this step, I can also clean those steps. Let's save it. Next, if we are trying to filter this data, for example, so let's do the filter. So we wanted to filter payment, and we were also looking into the payment by city, and we can also use the gender. So here we want to have the cash payment in the city, Yangon by mail. This is our filter data set. Now it shows everything for mail for the city Yangon, and the payment type should be cash here. So this is what your filter is right now. And if you would want to take this filter and you would say that, oh, this is the filter data I am really interested into, and I would like to take this filter data and I would like to save it, or okay, then you have ability to select your step, and here is the publish option. What it does is that which the current step, wherever you are, you can export your selected or filtered result into a new data set. So I could create a new publish point and I could say supermarket data, and I can say okay and publish it. At this time, if I go back to library, you would see here that this publish is happening right now, and that is based on one of the work I have done in the supermarket data set. And here you could see there are only 51 rows related with that. And it's a very first version of this data set because I have just completed it. I can come back to projects, and I was already working on EDA supermarket data, so I will select my project. And when I will select my project, you will see here that I arrived at the same place where I was left off at the last step. This is where I was, and if I do not want to see any of these filters, I can go ahead and close it, and I am back to my original data set where I was, and my filter data set is still saved there because I have exported. Published here, it means it is already saved in the library base. So sometimes if you have your character or string column and there are some trailing white spaces are available, and because of that you might see that the cardinality of that column is really not right, because the items are same, but due to white spaces they just represent different than their counterpart. So you have ability to perform that work, trim leading and trailing white space. If there is anything, it fixes itself. So that's option you have to also try. If you would want to split column, you have this functionality also built into, and here are some of these actions you can do. So what we are going to do is that, as you see here in this data set, date, which is the date value, but it actually shows this value as the string value. It's not actually the date type column. So we need to change this date type to the real date type because right now it's string. So before I go there, I would like to do a little more different data transformation. So here you could see the time is also the string type of column. So I would want to concatenate these two columns in a way so that I could create a new column called date and time, and I could combine them together. So how you could do it, and to perform that kind of operation, we have some of these tools available. So here you can see that we have a compute option, and what compute option does is that it gives you some of these capabilities, so functional capabilities for you. So we are going to expend a little more time in this compute little later, but because we are processing our data, so I would like to perform this. So I would like to concatenate here. So here is a concatenation here, and if you are interested in help is available here. Okay, if help is not visible, make sure that this option is clicked and you are going to get context sensitive help to show how to use a given function. So I would like to concatenate this date column. So this date, and this concatenation is required that what is the next. So I would like to concatenate date with time. Here is the time, and this middle I would like to use some space here. And as you could see here, this create a new column, but it should be called date time column. And here you could see this is a new column is created, which is having the date and column concatenation, and this is the date and time mix. And if I want to keep this column here, I could save it here. And once I will save, this new column is created. So using this compute and selecting a particular function, you could come up with a new computational column depending on your requirement. That was an initial step I wanted to perform at that time. Now we can cancel this. Now we can change our date type to the real date type because this is a string. So here we are, we can come here and we can say, let's change this to the date type. And you see here, date column is selected and detect date. So you could give a date format, something like this, which belong to your source column, but I can also ask DataRobot to, can you detect this? And it will detect the column like this. And here you could see is that the validation is also done for the first 100 row, and it looks like our date column is transformed like this. So we could say that the new date column which we have here, it will be date type now. So you see type is also set. So if you think everything looks good for you, you can save it, and now your date column is transformed into the real date column, which initially it was the string or character column. And if we click here, and here is the income is available. If we want to make this little wider, you can expand these graph, and here you could see like this way. So this way it shows that the value related with gross income is like that. And then we can say, let's show the descending. It means that 49 is the biggest value here, and here is the 50. So it means this is a graph. So if you are doing the exploratory data analysis, and if you do this kind of visualization, and if for example that suddenly the most of these values are from 0 to 49, but if there is a value is of 500, just one record value which shows a 500, very quickly you could see that that's an outlier in your data set. So if you find that particular record, and if you would want to remove that record from your data set, you could very easily do. For example, if we have this record and if we want to remove just one or two record, and depending on your requirement, you can very easily do it. And how you could do so, for example, just for example, these three records are outlier and I have selected them. So these are the outlier records, for example, here. And if we are trying to add one more filter by any reason, and we could say that this is the filtration which we have and we want to remove it. So for example, here you could see the rating. So let's add the rating here to make it smaller. Here you could see that we have the rating, and here depending on rating. So now if we try to filter here and filter by 8, so these are the 8 and 8.7. So these two records are filtered. So you could see here that these are the values, and here. So these are the record. Now if you would want to remove these records, it could be one filter, could be multiple. It's all depending on what's your criteria is. You can select here, this is called the remove, and when you click here, it shows that filters for remove rows. And if you would want to remove these rows, you just really need to click the save button, and what it's going to do, it's going to remove these records from your data set. So just for example, by any reason we believe that these are the bad records, we should not keep them. So I will go ahead and I will save it. Once I save it, those records will be removed from the data set, and now they are no longer part of our data set. And if we cancel these filters, and that is where we are. So that's how you can remove certain rows, and as you see here, that remove step was already here. For any reason, if you are interested to see, or if you are suddenly realize that, oh, that removal was not something I have done correctly, something was not right, you can select a particular step and you can change its view type. So you say remove is actually applied. You say, oh, no, don't show it. And now what's going to happen is that your record will be visible again, because if you go here and you look into the gross income and you visualize it, you will see those records are back here. But if you try to add it, you will see that those records will not be visible here. As you see here, that's the filtration. Just to make sure that you understood that changes does happen in that area. Okay, so you can perform a step, and if you do not want those impact of those steps to be applicable, you can disable that step. And that's is a capability in DataRobot AI Platform, that you can do a lot more things. And then if you do not want, you can just keep these steps, but you can disable the impact of that step. Such amazing capability built into. So I have disabled it. I will come back and I will still keep the step here. Next, after we have performed this exploratory data analysis, there is a lot of things you could do, but for the sake of time, I'm just showing few of the steps. Sometimes you are trying to join this visible data set with another data set because of some lookups are available. So I have created just a fabricated data set lookup branch here. So as you see here, there's this branch values. There are 3 values, A, B, C, and if you see the distribution is quite uniform for branch ABC. So I do have a data set which is actually providing this city name and the zip code for this branch. So if we would want to join those lookup table in this data set, we can perform that also. We will close this filter, and here, as you could see here, that we have a attach, which is basically lookup. So you can select the lookup, and it's going to ask you that which particular data set you are interested in lookup. At this time, if you do not have data set, you can actually add that data set. Means you can import it. You can upload from local. If you have a data source available, you can import the data set at this time when you are just looking up for an external data set. Because we are not importing anything right now, so I will go ahead and cancel it. Rather than, I will come back for the lookup, and I will say lookup, and when it's asking me, because previously I was using this import, but I do not need to import, I will look up for this supermarket branch, and this is this supermarket branch, and I could say, yes, please select this data set as a lookup. So here is the supermarket branch, and here is the current, and very quickly you see that there is a white color. It means that this data set is actually or it could be the collection of 2 different sources. And as you see here, that the new data set is not really merged yet because we haven't performed the join operation at all. So if you are familiar with your data set, you can actually figure it out what you want to join, but you can also let platform or AI platform to say detect join. And when you start the detection, very quickly you will see that the current data set, the branch column, is actually 100% match with branch column from branch data set, and suggested connection is a branch with branch one is 100% match. If there is a other column match, it will actually tell you the percentage, like a 30% match, 20% match, depending on how you really want to do. So thus the detection from AI platform gives you that capability. If you would want to have this join operation performed, you can save it. But there is one more option. Here is the option. So if you already understand that you want to do the join, and then you need to perform the different kind of join operation, here are available. You have left lookup, here is the inner, and here is a right lookup, and here is the outer. So inner join, outer join, left join, and right join, that's all capability built into for you. So you can select depending on your requirement, and you could perform that join operation. And here you could see that there is an IntelliFusion trademark matching method. So you can also have ability to use this fuzzy if you would want to do it, or otherwise you can use the exact match. So if depending on when you are doing join, you do have capability for performing these kind of matchings. If everything looks well, you can press this save button. Again, if your steps are open, you can press save here. If steps are not visible, then you can press save here. So we will perform this join, and now you will see that we have branch, which is our original column, and now you could see green and pink. So if you see here green and pink, and at the very top you will see that these are the columns, they belong to pink part of source, and green part is coming out from your this source. So that's very nice way to understand how different sources are applicable to the existing or visible data set. So here are the branch one is the new column, and name is the new column, and zip is the new column. So this is how you perform the join. So we have seen how the join lookup works here. Now this new column which came here, you could see here that zip is basically, these are the zip code. But if you look into this zip and you try to see the filter, they are considered as the numeric value. But technically zips are the cardinality. So they are the labels. So we have to change these types. So you can come here and you can say you would want to change this to text. So this will become your text. If you want to change values to uppercase, lowercase, that's also functionality available. And this is what the change here. And change, if you want to make it permanent, save it, and now your zip is became the string. And if you were trying to look into the filtration, and now it's became the label, and this is the distribution of it. So we have seen that part also. Next, we are going to create the computational columns, means more aggregated columns, or the user defined function based columns, so UDF. So we have already saw compute little early when we have concatenated our date time, and our date is their time. So now we will look into the compute little more deeper. So very first thing, if you would want to create new columns, you are doing feature engineering and you would want to do that thing, you have so many ways to construct new columns, and this all depending on how much you know your data set and how much the domain expertise you have related with that data set belongs to. So for example, in this, if we want to create a new computational column, and we would say that this is our date, and we would want to say that whenever this because the supermarket sales data, so how many days since purchase, and if we want to create that, we could create that column very easily. So here we can select this, and we could say that I really need the date difference. Date difference belongs needed a first date, second date, and what kind of interval we need to do. So here you could see that these are the syntax, and here is how syntax really look like. So we can come back here. What you need to do, make sure where your cursor is, and very first you need a date column. And if you have a to date between, then you can see the date difference. But because we do not have the second column, so I could say that based on now, and we want days, and that's our function here. It means give me the difference in days from date to now, like means today, and the number of days. And if you see here, the very last column has the number of days since the purchase. So you can say days since last purchase, and that will be our new column here. If everything looks good, you are happy with the result, you can save it. So computational column can also generate the binary value for you. If you want to create the binary value, for example, if we try to create a binary value, we can say that, okay, in this scenario, we want, what would be the, so we have rating, from 4 to 10. So if we would want to create the rating value, which is above 8, we want to give them true or false, for example. So we can say this is the compute. So compute function. So what is our rating? So we select. So rating is our column here. So we can say here, we put rating is greater than 8.0, type 1, otherwise 0, and this whole syntax has to be part of if. So if rating is greater than 8.0, 1, otherwise 2, and the column is rating over 8. So here is our rating over 8 column, and as you could see here, if the rating is over 8, it will be true, otherwise it will be false. So we have created this column, and this is how you can create the conditional column or computational conditional column based on your data. And we will save this. And here is our column. We can look into this, and let's look into the filter for this column. And as you could see here, it is considered as a numeric column, which is not, it's a binary distribution, it's a labeled column. So you can come here and you can say change to lowercase numeric text. We need to save this ratings, and now and that's become your label now. So using computational, this compute section, you can perform various types of transformation. So, and as you see here, our steps are being added as we are progressing in our data transformation, exploratory data analysis, as well as the data preparation part. In the next step, sometimes we need to create the aggregation columns also. So there is options to create the aggregation, and as you could see here we have compute, and if you want to perform an aggregation. So for example, you would want to create the aggregation here, and you would want to say quantity. So we do have a column called quantity here. So here we have quantity, and you want to sum of quantity. So you could say that total quantity is your column, and you are selecting the method called sum, and selected column is quantity. So based on this selection, we need to give few seconds, and as you could see here at the very last, the total quantity is there, but we need to add some. So if you would want to create the aggregated column, there is an option or tool. Option is window, and you can select this aggregate, and here you can create the aggregation related with your need. So here you are trying to aggregate, so you could say that you want the sum. So you select the sum and you are selecting the sum of quantity. So the column will be total quantity by, okay, and then you can say total quantity by city. It means that total quantity by city, so you would want to group by on city here. And if you look into this column, this is the column total quantity by city. So this city name is here. This city is here. So here is the Redwood city. So very first record, you are seeing the Redwood city 1820 quantity total. But if we go a little more deeper, we will see that record changes for San Francisco, and all those records you are going to see. So if we say sorted by, let's change sorted by city. This, and then we can say ascending, descending, and this value. So that value shows that you could create the total quantity by city. Let me save it, and then you will be able to see it very easily. And if you look into here, this is a pink column. These two columns were created when we have ran the compound computational column. This pink column which is just created, which is coming out from which data set we have used. So that's, you can still get an idea that how these sources of your columns in this existing data set. So this is total quantity by city, and as you could see here, depending on your city, it is changed. So we looked into the aggregate, and here, what if you want to perform the aggregation, and here columns. So you can actually do multiple columns. So you want to create the aggregation based on city and payment. So you could say you want to have the sum of quantity, but the aggregation you want on two columns. So you could say you want the aggregation based on gender, and you also gender and payment type. And here is your new column. So here is our new column. So payment type and this, and we want sum, oh sorry, not city, sum of quantity, numeric. Here is your new column. So as you could see here, this is changing. And then if we look into this, there should be payment types are 3 and genders are 2. So 3 times 2, 5. Okay, so there are that many record will be available. So we can say, okay, this column will be quantity on gender, payment. Let's save it. And this is the let's see its distribution, and you are going to see 3 times 2, 3 2 is a 6 record. So here is a total quantity on city, total quantity on gender and payment. So you get this idea of window 2. We have also ranking. And ranking is also, so for example, if you would want to create the ranking based on rating, so you could say I would try to create the rank on rating, and let's call it rating rank, our new column. So this is our rating rank. So here is our rating rank. So rank on ratings, and we can say the group by, if you want to group by based on gender, and that's where the rank is. And if you would want to sort it, you can sort this. Let's sort on rating. So there is a rating, and here are the rankings. If you decide you do not want to have the groups, or if you want to change the group rather than let's try to have the rating with group by gender. And let's save it. So rating rank. So you could perform variety of data transformation options when you are preparing your data, which is ready for your machine learning. At this point, if you are trying to create a sub data set within this data set, those capabilities are also available in this shape. So what shape does is that shape is the capability for you to create the pivot example. So let me show. So if you see here, there is a shape. You are trying to say group by. So here you could see here is the group by, and invoice is a unique, so it's not a good idea. Let's have a group by city. So here is the group by city and count. So how many record we have based on city. If you would want to add city and then branch, so for there are 3 branches, so they are unique same way. But if we try to add the gender to the mix, so there will be 2 different genders. So now there would be 3 times 2, so 6 record. If we want to add the payment, which is also here, then payment is going to 3 times, so 6 3s are 18. Cash, credit card, e-wallet, so there will be 18 record here. So here is your count of that. If you would want to change this aggregation, you could reset it. So very quickly, this is what you have seen, this count of invoice ID. If you would want to change this rather than count, you say I am interested in sum. So you could say give me the sum of cogs, and here is the sum of cogs depending on your filtered value. And this is just the pivot. So here you could see you can transpose it, you can pivot it, depivot it. So if you would want to save this step, you can still save it. And if you save it, that's your current data set. So you can go back to steps, and this is what shape we have created. And previously we were in rank, and we can come back and that will be our data set which we were working. So if you would want to publish this pivot, you can publish it, and we just call it pivot data. Let's save it. And that was the shape. If we do not need, we are back to our normal. We can again hide that steps option, so you will get more space. So steps helps you so many ways. It gives you all the audit trail. Depending on what you want to do, you can add comments here, so you could share with your colleagues or your other counterparts that what was the reason for performing a certain kind of transformation while you were preparing for that data. So that also helps you. You can make change, or if you decide you do not want a certain change, you can go back and you can disable it. And this all depending on what type of step you were performing. And finally, when you think everything is ready, you can take it and you can publish it. So before we publish, we do very last step to make sure that all the columns the way we want are ready. Otherwise, we try to adjust them. And if you see here, it shows the columns here. So here are the columns we have. Let's close this step, and here you could see these are the columns we have, and you see that branch we have, and we do have a branch which is the column from lookup table. So we could say that branch 1 we do not want here. So branch 1 will not be part of our data set. If you, so this is how you can hide a particular column if you do not want it. If you would want to rename these columns, you could, so if I do not want, I will save that. Just an example, if you would want to change zip to zip code, rename, that's for data, and then we can say where the rename, this is the option to rename. So we could select zip, here the old column name, new column name, call it zip code, save it. The columns, chip 1, not sure if I change chip code, save. Anyway, I was expecting that save, and so we have seen save, remove, window, compute, columns, attach, we have seen highlight, patterns, spaces, ranges. Let's look into the, and here very quickly you could see that this is just a highlight. So this is just a data visualization part which I missed earlier to show you. So that's highlight of information. If you want to see these spaces, depending on, and that's we need to look into the strings. So here in the text space, you could see that these are the spaces are visible in your text data. Patterns, let's close these spaces, and it shows the cardinality depending on how the different patterns are available in your data set. So that's part of just simple exploratory data analysis. The versions, you see that these are the different steps we have performed. Here you could write all these steps, everything you would want to annotate related with your steps. Finally, it looks like everything is ready for us to export this data set. So in order to export this as a final, it means now we have created this data set in a way that this data set is ready for our machine learning. For example, ready for machine learning, you could create a new lens. This is your new lens. You call it final super market data. If you want to edit columns, you still have opportunity to edit columns. You perform whatever really needed, and finally you say save. So now you have created a new lens. So new lens is, you see, this is the final here, and then it means that a view is created within your data set. Now in order to make it permanent or final, you have to publish it. It means all that EDA work you have just did, all the transformation, they all have to be published into DataRobot AI Cloud. So now we need to publish it to make it permanent. Let's do publish, show in library, and here you could see that publish is started, and this is our final supermarket data. And after status is completed, it means this data set is ready. If data set is ready, if you would want to export it, you can export it, download locally. You can select data source where you would want to export, or if you want to download locally, you can select it, comma operator, anything, all the export settings are available for you. You can go ahead and you just call it final supermarket data.csv exported, and that is saved at the local file system. So these are the export log. We can go back to our library, and now this data set is available for you to perform any other task. At this point, even if you would want to go back and work into your project, this was the project we were working, you can go ahead and you can work in this project, and you can do one more or other transformation, and you can create one more lens top of it. So for example, if we would want to work something here and we perform one more transformation, just an example, we just try to create a rank very quickly, and we would call it rank on income rank. So rank on gross income, just call it income rank. Filtered by gender. Here is our income rank, and if everything is okay, let's save it. That's where it is. Now we decided that, oh, now our data is final because we just missed one part. You can create a new lens here, and this lens will be past supermarket data. So that's our name. And now if we would want to publish it, we have to publish it, show in library. Okay, cancel something we didn't save, so let's save it. Oh, we need to save the lens. Once the lens is saved, then you could publish it. So you go ahead, publish, show in library. Now you have another version of that data set available, which has one extra column which we have just added. So you have seen a combination of variety of data preparation steps you could do with DataRobot AI platform. You can exploratory analysis, you can look up, you can do join, you can do ranking, you can create so many new columns depending on your need, whether you want to create the computational columns, you want to create the Boolean values. There are several things you could do, and data lineage is built into the transformation as they are happening. They are being recorded, everything. So this was a very simple tutorial for you to understand the capabilities of the DataRobot AI Cloud. In my next tutorial, I will be showing you how to use the DataRobot AutoML and the VisualML to perform the machine learning, and when we will also look into the MLOps part of DataRobot. So for now, my objective in this tutorial was to show you the data preparation capabilities of DataRobot AI Cloud. So that's all I have to share with you in this video, and I will be seeing you in my another video. That's all, my friends. If you have enjoyed our content, please like it, share it, subscribe it. And finally, please remember, be good and do good. Thank you.